If you're a gardener, you have probably killed thousands of aphids. You have rubbed them off a stem with your thumb, or blasted them with a hose, or sprayed them with insecticides. They are a gardening catastrophe. But why are aphids such annoying pests? It's because of their insane ability to reproduce. Babies inside babies inside babies, an endless chain of reproduction that happens faster than they can be killed. But let's start at the beginning, the end of winter and the start of the infestation. A single aphid egg is all it takes. Out of that egg hatches a single insect. She is called the Fundatrix, the foundress, the great mother. She is the only aphid all year that will hatch from an egg. Everything after her will be born, as in live birth. The Fundatrix hatches alone. There are no adults of her kind anywhere, and she immediately begins feeding and growing. About a week after hatching, the Fundatrix becomes an adult and produces a daughter. Not an egg, a live, miniature, pale green copy of herself that immediately begins feeding. There was no father. There will be no male anywhere in this population for months. She produced that daughter entirely out of herself, from an egg that was never fertilized. This is a process called parthenogenesis, reproduction from an unfertilized egg. It is the ordinary state of aphids for most of the year. Generation after generation, all summer, every aphid on the plant is a female. The daughter is not just similar to her mother, genetically she is the same aphid. This kind of parthenogenesis skips the genetic shuffling that normally happens when eggs are produced. The mother's genome is not mixed, it is copied whole. The daughter is a clone in the strictest sense. The Fundatrix's granddaughter will be another exact copy, and so on all summer. What spreads across your garden over the following weeks is not a family of aphids, it is one genetic individual printed over and over into thousands of separate walking bodies. The colony is not really a population, it is one insect. It gets weirder. That newborn daughter is already pregnant when she is born. Not will mature soon, already carrying, inside her newborn body, her clone daughters. Her ovaries started building the next generation while she herself was still an embryo inside the Fundatrix. So at the instant of her birth, there are 3 generations nested inside one small green body. The daughter, her own developing daughters inside her, and the first traces of their daughters beginning inside those. This is called telescopic pregnancy. Like the old-timey collapsible spyglass, the generations are packed one inside the next, each already holding the start of the one beyond it. There is no moment in the summer season where an aphid is not yet a mother. But why does this madness exist? An animal that needs to grow up first and only then starts reproducing wastes time. An aphid builds her own body and the next generation at the same time, during her own childhood. This gives an endpoint of the fastest possible rate of increase, achieved by closing the gap between generations until there is no gap left. There is even a reason why the Fundatrix gives live birth, one at a time in a steady stream, instead of in one big clutch the way many insects do. Releasing them singly keeps the load she is carrying constant, which lets her convert food into offspring at a steady rate. Every daughter the Fundatrix made starts, within days, making daughters of her own, each one already pregnant exactly as she was. That is a compounding growth, with the doubling time crushed down to almost nothing. It is why aphids can take over your garden or greenhouse so quickly. If the descendants of a single aphid all survived for one season, with nothing pushing back, the resulting mass of aphids would cover the surface of the earth, from one insect in 1 year. So why aren't we knee-deep in aphids? because almost none of them survive. Aphids are soft and defenseless. They do very little moving and only develop wings during certain points of the year. Predators and parasitoids have easy pickings on an aphid colony. The aphid's only real response is to drop off the plant to try and escape, or just keep making more aphids to drown out the predators. The real devastation comes from disease. Because the aphids are all clones, they all share the same susceptibility to the same pathogens. An outbreak of a fungal disease in an aphid colony will kill all of them. The inverse of this phenomenon is also why aphids are so hard to kill with pesticides. If even one aphid has a mutation which makes it immune to a poison, it survives, and all of her future daughter clones will carry the immunity. Mutations, plus the rapid clonal reproduction of aphids, makes them one of the most pesticide-resistant groups of insects on Earth. By midsummer, the reproductive strategy changes. The environment has become more hostile, and there are far too many mouths to feed. Among the new daughters, some come out carrying the folded beginnings of wings. Same clone, same genes, a different body. Most of the winged migrants die, but a few fly somewhere with fresh new plants and begin again, each already pregnant, acting as a new kind of Fundatrix. As the year moves into the fall, the clones suddenly change their behavior. They start making males. All summer, the clone copies its genome whole to make daughters. Now, the copying changes. The difference between a male and female aphid is the number of copies of their sex chromosomes. Female aphids have 2 copies, males only have 1. To make a male, the clone simply drops 1 copy of her sex chromosome. At the same time, it begins making true sexual females, not the self-copying mothers of summer, but females who will need a male, who will not give live birth, and will instead lay only eggs. Cloning is unbeatable for speed, but cloning copies everything, weaknesses included, and it cannot, by itself, do the 2 things the lineage needs as the year closes. It cannot easily make the one life stage tough enough to survive a hard winter, and it cannot reshuffle the genes. Sexual reproduction produces both of these. The sexual females, after mating, do not produce live, already pregnant daughters like every female before them. They move to protected parts of the plant and lay individual eggs. The eggs will be the only thing to survive the winter. The summer army of clones will all die. But in some plant seam, there is a single black egg, and folded into it is the whole of the next year's army. The Fundatrix who will hatch alone and become a mother of several generations deep. The telescope has been collapsed back down to a single tube.